The 15-Point Plan is part of the Win, Make, Give podcast network.
Welcome back to another episode of the 15-Point Plan podcast. My name is Ryan Greigg, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jacqueline Smith. Jacqueline, say hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be here again. And today we're jumping into the 15-Point Plan as always. And today we're talking a little bit about a combination of a couple things from mindfulness to journaling. But really what we're talking about is this idea of white space. The idea of white space and what that looks like and having that in our life so that we can do so many things that we've come up with as benefits of having that time in our lives to ourselves. But first, Jacqueline, we were talking about white space and what that is. And tell us a little bit about what we found.
Yeah, I mean, what is white space, right? So when we were doing some prep, I Googled white space and the benefits of white space, and I wasn't specific enough. And so what came up was a lot around marketing and the visual white space that you need in marketing material. And one of the things that it said was it provides perfect balance. And so that gave us a visual, right, Ryan, where if you look at your life and if it was, up on a big board or on a projector screen and you had your life kind of penciled out for the week, would it look completely chaotic and chocked full of noise and commitments and things that you have to get done and responsibilities? Or would there be that white space that provides that perfect balance? And it's interesting because the times in my life where I don't feel centered and grounded, where I often feel stuck and I'm in this sort of reactive mode, when I zoom out and look at what's going on, it's almost always that I've become overscheduled and I have zero white space. So what is white space? White space is just that. It's space. It's unscheduled, where you don't have meetings, you don't have obligations. It's just space in your calendar to be. And it's not that you won't do things in that space. It's just that you have not prescribed a responsibility or commitment for that time block. Right? So it's white space.
Yeah, I think well, it was super interesting looking at what that marketing information looked like. We certainly didn't intend to do that, but that was a really good description of what white space is. It's that perfect balance. And looking at our lives. And I don't know, Jacqueline, I might debate a couple of these ideas because white space, think space, it's really, for me, what that means is time to ourself.
Yeah.
Time to ourself with no distractions. So to me, that would mean time to ourself with no phone. That would, to me, be the real definition of white space, is some amount of time specifically just to myself with no distractions, no phone. Books, journals, I don't know, I guess that could fall into the distraction category, but I would consider those to be included in there. But it's this idea of having space really to yourself and to your thoughts. And that's scary to a lot of people, myself included, because typically what happens is the first couple thoughts that come up are the things that we have to do or the list of things that we have to get done for the day. But then when we start going deeper into those thoughts, we might come to some thoughts in our life that we don't actually want to think about. And that's where the distraction comes from. And that's where a lot of us will run to our phones. And, we look at our calendar and having our calendar, and we talked about this on the last episode of how our calendar is our boss and how we follow our calendar and how our calendar will tell us to do throughout the day. If we just keep doing that day after day after day, and our calendar does not include this time to ourselves, we're really just living our lives for everybody else in the world and not for ourselves. And when can we have some time to ourselves so that we can think, so that we can tap into that space within our brain, so we can have our creativity, the things that we want to think about and talk about. And so if the white space or this thinking space is not scheduled on the calendar, then I've found for most people, myself included, it happens when we have the time. And the hard thing about that is a lot of high performers don't have the time. because they're high performers, they're entrepreneurs, they own businesses. They could work from 10 in the morning till 10 at night because they love what they do. And that's their excuse sometimes, Jacqueline, to say, well, I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time to just think to myself. I don't have, and I challenge that. I think that we have to make the time for the white space so that we can think, so that we can be present with ourselves, so that we can process our emotions, maybe release these emotions. I think this is essential. And so I think our high performers that are on the call that don't have the time, we have to find out how we can create that time. And maybe
Yeah.
it's just a couple of minutes every day to start. Maybe it's just a couple of minutes, but I think it's imperative that we have that time to ourselves every single day. What's going through your head on that?
Well, I'm thinking about, well, how do we make that happen? And a couple things came to mind. I remember being at a conference, and there was a panel of, it was all women, and they all owned multiple businesses, and most of them were, you know, 7-figure plus businesses, um and they had families and they had kids and all the things. And I remember hearing how they structured their day, and I just had this total aha of, wow, when was the last time I allowed myself to look at my calendar and just completely restructure it? Because what happens is, you know, you have, you know, this meeting on Monday at this time, and then another one gets added, and then you have another, you know, however meetings on Tuesday, and then you have Wednesday, and all these things get added to your calendar for you. Well, who says you can't move some of those around? You know, or if something is not movable, kind of restructure other things so that it flows better. And it reminded me of when Chris Suarez, the founder of Place, every year he deletes his entire calendar and then restructures and adds only what is needed, because yeah, we have things that don't need to be on there anymore. We have things that should be in another space to give us that white space, you know, and just really allowing yourself the freedom to restructure it and to analyze whether or not it's working for you. And I think for me, I need to do that more often, because I do. I mean, as a CEO, I think the biggest thing that takes a lot of our time is just meetings that maybe
Mhm.
aren't necessary, or could be shorter, could be a phone call, could be an email or a Slack message. And, you know, should they be moved to a different day of the week, to a different time, so that it can create some space? Um, I find that when I don't have white space, I get more agitated, I get more frustrated, and I'm not um, necessarily in my creative, what we would call like zone of creative genius, where you can
Mhm.
come up with solutions to complex problems in your business. You can come up with, I just, the times where I'm quote unquote, I guess, resting and not scheduled are usually the times that I come up with great ideas and solutions to things. And when I'm going from thing to thing to thing to thing, I'm just solving whatever life is throwing at me in that moment. And I'm not really being proactive about um, my time.
Oh, absolutely. And the more reactive we are in our time and in our life, the more things are just going to fall. The more things are just going to happen, and things are. How do they say? Things happen to us and not for us.
Yes. Yeah.
We're just reacting. We're just like reacting to life, and I think that's so problematic for a lot of reasons. But in regards to the meetings, Jacqueline, you know, I heard somebody say a while ago, I don't remember which CEO of which company it was, but they said, never have sit down meetings. All of our meetings are stand up meetings, because just by the fact that we're standing up, people are going to get tired quicker. They're going to get antsy quicker. They're not as comfortable. And that's going to cut your meeting in half.
Hmm.
So they said, we never do sit down meetings anymore. And they asked, well, if the meeting was an hour, how can we cut it to a half an hour? If the meeting wasn't half an hour, how can we cut it to 15 minutes? If it was 15 minutes, could it just be an email?
Right. Yeah.
And I love that, how Chris said that. Just wipe everything from the calendar. Just start fresh, because a lot of those things probably are taking more time than they need to.
Hmm.
And if we can cut those down and we stand up in that 10-minute meeting instead of that sit down half-hour meeting after lunch where we're tired and we're really not being very productive anyways, and
Yeah.
then looking at our time and asking ourselves, is what I'm doing Or could I outsource this as leverage or luxury?
Mm-hmm.
For example, my lawn, a lot of people hate mowing their lawn. For me, it's kind of a white space type thing. I enjoy mowing my lawn at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day at night. Now, I'm not going to do it during business hours because I know that's completely counterproductive to my hourly rate.
Right.
But I actually don't mind mowing my lawn. And for me, it gives me some think time. So I use that time. But if you don't like mowing your lawn and you want that white space, then you leverage that out. Pay
Mm-hmm.
somebody to mow your lawn for you and get that done so you can have that time back to yourself. But I just think, Jacqueline, that when we don't have the time for the white space and we're constantly in that reaction mode,
Mm-hmm.
then we have a wall up to the universe. We
Yeah.
aren't sitting in the time and the space to think about the things that we truly want in life, actually even seeing them happen, right? So we're visualizing, we're manifesting what we want in life. We're saying,
Yeah.
hey, I really want that red car so that our reticular activating system can kick in. We start seeing red cars start coming to us. But instead, we're just saying, I just need to get to this day. I just need to get to this meeting. I just need to do these things. And we're just putting walls up to the universe. We're not attracting what we want in life because we probably don't even know what we want in life because we haven't
Mhm.
actually sat and thought about it for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah, it's so true. I remember this one training that Ben Kinney did with our company. It's actually a long time ago, and it's never left me. It's just he likened um, entrepreneurs to we're like athletes, right? But athletes, they have like whole seasons where they are off, and they have recovery time built into their training schedule, and actually recovery activities built in. And what we tend to do is we just sprint through
Mm-hmm.
the day, and then a lot of us, if you have a family, then you're not going home to just chill. You're going
Mm-hmm.
to the kids' sporting events, you're getting dinner going, you're getting lunches for the next day. I mean, you're just sprinting again. And then what you might have like a little bit of time after everyone goes to bed when you should actually be going to sleep too. And that's like your only space in your day. And what happens is we're just constantly in this state of burnout. And I really lack joy. I don't know. I think I kind of live for white space. And when I don't have it, I find that those periods of time, like I said, where I feel stuck and I'm like, I'm not happy, almost always I go back to my calendar,
Hmm.
and it's just, I've allowed it to get too crowded. There's all the colors of the rainbow on my calendar and it's all full.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to be more diligent about saying no. And it's hard because sometimes you want to say yes to everything. And even having to say no to things that, you know, I kind of want to do that, but I've already committed to these other things. And so I just can't, because I know for me that my mental health and my physical health, um,
Mm-hmm.
it it really depends on me prioritizing time to just be. Otherwise, what I tend to do, and I don't know if others might be similar, is I will sacrifice my workout, or, because I'll get up in the morning and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want some time to just like be, you
Right.
know, or I'll start making bad decisions even with my food and my nutrition and everything, just because everything gets so busy and so full. It's like the walls are closing in, and then I seek, those comfort things, because what I'm really needing is time to just be, and to be
Yeah.
grounded, and to center myself, and to find a healthy perspective again, and just be, find joy and presence. And Brendan Burchard says, feel the day. Well, you can't
Mm-hmm.
feel the day if you're actually having to not feel the day because it's so full and you're in like hustle, muscle your way through it mode. That's not feeling the day.
No, it's not. It won't be because we're not feeling anything. We're just doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if we're constantly just doing, we're not giving ourselves the time and, frankly, the permission to feel. And when we stop feeling, this is what I start saying, Jacqueline. I know that I'm starting to slip a little bit when I catch myself saying, "I don't care. I don't care that I've eaten crappy today. I'm going to keep eating crappy. I just don't care right now."
Yeah.
I've caught myself, and I'm like, "You do care. You're just going too fast right now. You need to just slow down. You need to take some time for yourself. Remember, self care is not selfish. we can't serve our people if we're not feeling good.
Yeah.
And the best way to feel good, like you said, is to be able to just be sometimes, to just sit there and go, okay, this is pretty dang amazing what I'm doing in my life right now. I am actually a very amazing human being. I actually do accomplish a whole lot of incredible stuff that sometimes I forget about and I don't give myself the credit. And hot dang, I'm a pretty incredible person.
Yeah.
And I think we just don't give ourselves the time and the space to do that. So here's a challenge or a takeaway for everybody. Just try for 10 minutes. Give it 10 minutes in the morning. And at the end of the day, Jacqueline, so my mom used to live with me. She lived with me when she moved from California, and she came and she was living in my studio apartment in my house, which is kind of attached. And I would come home at the end of the day and I would sit in my garage because I would know that once I went into my house, my mom was in there, and I love my mom to death. And she would just want to talk. How was the day? Oh my gosh, all this stuff. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, oh my God, I need a freaking break already. What I learned was that if I just spent like 3 minutes in the garage in my car, decompressing from work and preparing for the transition, that made a huge impact. So give yourself 5 to 10 minutes in the morning and give yourself 5 to 10 minutes at the end of your workday. I don't care if that's in your office or in your car or a quick walk. It will do you and your family so much good because now you've got that time back to yourself and you can be present with them. So there's some takeaways for everybody. A couple minutes beginning of the day and a couple minutes at the end of the day. And if you get more time, great. Once you get 20 or 30 minutes of sitting there by yourself in a meditation with that comfortable blanket that we shared on the important aspects from the 15-point plan, your life will change and the magic will start to come to you more frequently. So allow that magic to come to you by having some white space for yourself.
Yeah. Review your calendars, go through and give yourself permission to move things around, take things off, say no, and create space. You have to create space. And it takes intentionality. It doesn't usually just happen on accident. So we hope this episode helps you create more space so that you can find more joy and, like Ryan said, more magic in everyday life. If you have anything that you have found that's worked for you to protect and create more white space in your life, we'd love to hear from you. And as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for all your support and interaction. We love hearing from you. And we will catch you on the next episode of the 15-Point Plan podcast. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.